Hi, my name's Leon. I'm from Event 720 and the Wooden Toy Co. And today I'm going to do an instructional video on how to assemble our climbing cube. So this will be the same instructions no matter if you've bought an indoor or an outdoor cube. So once you open up your package, you will see that you've got two sides to the cube. There'll be 8 dowels, one top. There'll be 17 M6 25mm furniture bolts. That's one extra than you actually need, and a 4mm Allen key, as well as some instructions to show you how to do it. So, to assemble the cube, basically what we need to do is, the cube is going to end up as 2 sides on top and then the dowels obviously joining the sides together. What we want to do is, we want to first put all of the dowels into one side, then put the top in to the recess, then we can position the other side on and tighten that up, and then to finish the installation. So we're going to start with one side. Doesn't matter, they're both identical. You'll see that on the cube, on the inside of the piece of plywood, there is a large 8mm deep recess on the top, as well as the 26mm recesses around the holes for the dowels. That's the inside. So basically what we're doing is we want to start getting the dowels, and the dowels need to slide into that recess. That's very important that they slide in correctly and they fit, and the end of the dowel, it goes all the way to the inside of that recess. And then basically what we want to do is tighten that screw up. You'll see I've got the long end of the Allen key into the screw, and I use the short end as my leverage to tighten the Allen key. This is a really good tip if you've got a bit of grip strength. This is a good way to use the Allen key. It's a bit harder, but if you tighten it up as tight as you can, you'll ensure that you don't over tighten the screws, which can break them, which can break the thread that it's screwing into rather than the screw. If you don't have a lot of grip strength, then using it the other way to get more leverage will be fine, and you basically just want to get it nice and firm. So that's the first one. So then we just want to quickly go around, so we position the dowel in the recess, start the screw, tighten. The Allen key 30 times here. Feel free to skip ahead a couple of minutes if you're in the video while we repeat this. So it doesn't really matter which order you put the dowels in. The main thing is I'm just putting them in there. I'm not sure if you've noticed the actual cube's starting to spin a little bit, just because it's starting to get some extra weight on one side. So I've just decided to jump to the other side just to even it up, so it doesn't spin around in circles for me on the table. You'll also notice as I'm doing this, I'm trying to keep the dowel off the table. That's important. So we don't want to, whilst these are tight and they'll be able to handle the weight of the cube, if we can, we want to keep the weight off them, because it's just going to they're not designed to hold all the weight. It basically puts all that pressure on this point here. That's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to hold the sides together. So if we can avoid that, we can obviously just avoid causing any damage before we get it set up. So as I've been going, I've been tightening all of these screws on this side to the level that I'm happy with them to basically be permanently left at. So, okay. So now we have all 8 dowels in the side. We're ready for the next step. So the next step is we're going to get the top shelf. Now this shelf is slightly wider than it is higher. So what you're going to notice is you just basically need to do a quick trial. One way is going to fit very tight, and the other way is going to basically be spin around this way. So you can see, you basically see this way it's about 10 to 15 millimeters too long. This way is a beautiful, nice snug fit. So what you want to do, get that in and push that down until it thumps down. As you can see, it's nice and snug. That's just sitting in the recess, and it's sitting there really quite well. Now we get the other side. So the other side, as you can see, identical to this one. And so we're basically starting at the top, and we are going to line up this one. Let's give that a light tap. Then what we are going to do is, starting from the shelf side and working our way to the bottom, we are going to do one side at a time. We're going to locate the dowel in the recess underneath, and then just do finger tight with the screws on both sides before we start to tighten that side up. So we just need to be making sure as we're going. So to get this to sit down, you'll just have to, it'll kind of rock on the shelf a little bit. So you just need to make sure that that's pushing in. And you just kind of want to do them, make sure they're lined up. So here we can get both of those lined up there. And then sometimes it can be a bit tricky depending on how perfect we've been able to get the hole to the center of the dowel. It can be a little bit firm to get the screws to tighten. So if you can't do them all by just with your fingers, don't stress, you can just use your Allen key. But basically we just want to tighten them up so that now they're tight enough so that they're in their grooves, but the actual plywood can't rock and wiggle them out. So now we've done that side, we'll then just spin this around, and now we do top one's basically the tricky one to get in. And the easiest way to know if you've got the dowel in the groove correctly is if the rest of the dowels are touching the plywood or not. If they are, that's a good sign, because this plywood won't bend. So what you're wanting to do is basically just get the dowel located where you want it by visually watching it. Then, if need be, just pull the plywood down, and then you can just see that last one's dropped in, and then this one's gotten a bit looser. That one's one of these ones where it's not quite centered, so it's rubbing against the side, so it's a bit trickier to tighten. But now we've that's all seated down, and so I'm happy with that. So now we can move to the final step, where basically, at the moment, we've got this side tightened up nicely. This side is all finger tightened and loose. So what we want to do is basically sit it on a flat surface to make sure that these two sides are not twisted like this. They're both perpendicular to each other. Once we're there, we can then go around and, starting at the bottom, basically just working our way up and over, we can go along and tighten all the screws up to the same tension as we did the other side. The top ones will probably be the tighter, the trickier ones to tighten, just because the top is designed to be nice and snug. So because this plywood won't bend much, as you tighten this, it's going to push the last remaining pieces of this plywood over this one, just close up that gap. So it's typically it'll feel tight, but it'll actually move a little bit until it stops. Where the rest of them, they seem to, they spin and then they stop quickly. Oop, that was a great example there where that one was caught and then it jumped ahead and we're done. Now, as you can see, very flat, nice and stable, and that's ready to play. So yes, that's as simple as it is. It's worthwhile, and we recommend keeping the Allen key in storage somewhere. I'm sure you've probably got 4mm Allen keys are quite common, but it's definitely worthwhile holding on to this from time to time through use, especially if you're picking it up and moving it a lot. Over time, the screws can just come loose, especially if they haven't been perhaps tightened quite as tight as they can be. So all you need to do is just quickly tighten them up. So if you ever see them coming loose, that's all that's required. It's a 4mm Allen key if you misplace it and you need another one. Now the only other thing is, inside the box you will see there is a happy playing card as well. On the reverse side of that, it has all of our social media handles. So make sure you take some photos of the product in use and tag us, because we love to see our toys being used. Thanks for watching.